Today, some people are going to get paid. It is the NBA trade deadline. And, we're going to play a little game here of staying or going.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'll put some music underneath, be like, I've been everywhere, man. Today is the NBA trade deadline. And no name has been more talked about in the last 24 hours than Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. The former Arizona guard reportedly has reconsidered his request to be traded. That's according to Woj on the Zach Low Post podcast. Benny, today's trade deadline, Aaron Gordon staying or going?
I mean, it's like if you told me the last 5 seasons, I would have said that Aaron Gordon was going, which is the reason I'm like, I don't know, probably staying because Orlando will never trade this fucking guy, even though they should.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Gordon's a really unique position. I do get the feeling as we go on here that Aaron Gordon's name and reputation have become more useful than the player. I think Aaron Gordon is a good player, but is there anything that Aaron Gordon is not average to above average at? I that's not the name I'm seeing right now that's really going to move the needle. The one thing I do think is that Aaron Gordon has been playing in a way in Orlando that is just not conducive to his style. And if you, let's just say, for instance, Denver, who would be a nice fit for Aaron Gordon, imagine how easy that guy's life is just playing around Nikola Jokic now. Like he's got that LeBron James effect where Jokic just gets people paid now because he makes the game easy for everybody else. So I think if he winds up in a situation like that, or a situation like Boston, like Portland, where he has some ball dominant guards who are actually making the offense happen, and he's not forced to run some awkward, clunky pick and roll that he's been running at the top for the last 3 seasons because they have no one to handle the ball in Orlando, I would love to see him go. And I don't think there's a person in the NBA who needs a scene change more than Aaron Gordon. So if he goes, I don't know. He should have went for years, but I hope he does.
See, my thing here is, right, I think that this is, quote unquote, as we like to say, it's bigger than basketball. He met somebody.
Is that it?
He's been going. He's been going on these cute dates to Disney World, going to Disney Springs for dinner.
Yeah,
I think that he's willing. He seems like a romantic kind of guy. He wants to
great hair.
His entire NBA career on hold for this Orlando girl. No, I'm kidding. But I think that I think that if he does go, I think a place like Golden State could be a potential option, because they're probably going to want a first round pick and some role players. Hey, this may be how you pivot Juan Toscano Anderson, and his between 5 and 10 point a game.
It's not a name I thought I was going to hear in this conversation so early. We're already on Toscano Anderson. That means it's a thin trade deadline.
Man, I've always got to give Juan love. Worked on a lot of group projects with him so soft spot. But all right, but I think he's gonna probably end up staying. It's odd when you see people come back to and they rescind their trade request. So we'll see there. All right, next up. Sportsnet's Michael Grange has reported that Toronto has been more aggressive in trying to take offers from Norman Powell, who holds an $11.6 million player option for next season. Grange went as far as to say that the Raptors are going to work every angle to try to get something for Powell right here. So is Norman Powell staying or going in Toronto?
Well, I think he's going, but I think it's because of the larger piece in Toronto. I don't know if you were planning on saying Kyle Lowry next.
Yep.
But I'll just include it in this one since we're already here. I think Kyle Lowry's going. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you watched any piece of that last game he played, kind of felt like a goodbye game to me. People are literally saying peace. It seemed like a kind of like, last game sort of thing. And I don't know if there's ever going to be a time when his value is higher than it is now, because if there's anyone who can move the needle out of all the names that we've been talking about through the trade deadline, it is Kyle Lowry. You put him on some of these contending teams that desperately need a point guard, desperately need a leader, desperately need postseason acumen, which he has. Like you put him on the Los Angeles Clippers right now, that team is 100% different in the West, and you look at the whole thing differently. So I think because of that, Toronto knows that they can yield top value for Kyle Lowry right now. And I think they would be wise to sell high on Norman Powell at the same time, because I think his value has maybe never been as high as it is now, and probably won't get higher, especially with his salary. And the other thing I like about this is we're talking about two very key star / rotational pieces on a team. If you trade those guys back and you get a big haul, you're still putting them around Van Vliet, Anunoby, Siakam. So this is like one of those perfect opportunities for a team to let go of the old and bring in the new while not tanking at all.
Yeah.
You know, Toronto, if they can manage to get back a useful playing piece and a very valuable pick in this trade, Toronto is almost in the same place they were preseason next season as they were this season. So by all logic, it seems like he should go, and I think he's gonna.
Well, let me get my follow-up in here then. So it's been widely reported that the Miami Heat are dangling both Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson in an effort to try to land Kyle Lowry.
Do it.
You know, we brought up Philadelphia as well as another potential option.
Yeah.
Lowry going home. Talked about that last week. Do you think Lowry ends up in Miami?
I mean, it's a great destination, and if that is the package they're getting back, I think we discussed it recently. Duncan Robinson's about to get paid like Joe Harris from someone. He's about to make like somewhere in that 4-year, $60 to $70 million range, like Norman Powell money he's about to make, maybe even more. So I think you're seeing the limits to his game. You know, he's the type of player where you need a very functional offensive operation for him to flourish. And when you see Jimmy Butler out or Bam out, and you start to see him try to take the ball, I think you've seen his limits this year. And Tyler Hero could still be like a really useful and successful player. But if you can manage to get back Kyle Lowry and put him with Jimmy Butler and Bam to make a run in the East right now, you got to do it. Yeah. And that's kind of like a perfect fit too, as far as culture goes. I mean, you could think of like a Pat Riley guy and a Miami Heat kind of guy, and you bring in fucking hard-nosed Kyle Lowry, who's been showing what he is for years. He's a no-nonsense, in-your-face, physical point guard. He's like everything you would want out of that position, with the jewelry already, you know? So I think that's a great fit, and I would love to see it. It would make the East so much fun.
Boy, how mad would Tyler Hero be if he gets traded from Miami to Toronto? Just based off the cities alone.
That's a party town. Toronto's a party town.
I mean, Toronto's a party town, but I'm sure
gotta get better jackets.
Listen, he grew up in Wisconsin. He was like, I'm practicing every day to get out of this cold weather situation, go to Kentucky, not to end up in.
Well, lucky for him, he gets to spend the year in Tampa.
Oh yeah, how about that? But eventually he's gonna have to move up there. No, but that would be great for Toronto if they can get both Duncan and Tyler Hero, pair that with Van Vliet. Really love the way Nick Nurse kind of gets the most out of his guys. I think that'd be really fun for Nick Nurse, and that'd be another feather in the cap of Masai Ujiri, who just continues to make deals as he's angling for something. I'm not sure what he's angling for, but there's something bigger at play for him. All right, next up, we head to Indiana, and the Indiana Pacers are listening to pitches on Malcolm Brogdon and are also monitoring Domantas Sabonis as well. Our friend and Jersey City native Vincent Goodwill reporting this for Yahoo. Brogdon, the Pacers kind of think that with Karis LeVert now, they're not going to be as reliant on Brogdon, who's moving into the second year of a 4-year, $85 million deal. So, Benny, is Brogdon staying or going?
I think he's staying. I don't see. I mean, I understand why they would dangle. They're a little under 500. give the illusion to people that they're sellers right now to see if they could just get some kind of blockbuster back. But with that deal in tow, the kind of team they have in place, I think like you're right. Karis LeVert can take over ball handling duties, but he's not a point guard. Aaron Holiday seemed to regress a little this year, and I don't think Indiana's in the position to want to take a step back at all. They have all these guys in place. Maybe a little bit of a glut, and maybe that's why they're looking at trades. But I still think if you wind up putting Brogdon, LeVert, TJ Warren, Sabonis, Miles Turner on the court, and then you're putting these, Justin Holiday and McDermott and these guys on the bench, I think Indiana still could be as good as anybody in the East. And I think that potential they know is still there, and I don't see them making a big deal right now.
The other guy also potentially in play for Indiana is Miles Turner. It'll take a no-brainer return for Indiana to consider this. Miles Turner, I see him staying, but Benny, Miles Turner, staying or going?
Same, staying for the same exact reason. Like the contract is tough, and I don't see a destination where they would get enough back for him. So I think Indiana is going to make. I think they're going to make a run. Yeah. I think it's one of those things. Who knows what these front offices do? Maybe they dangle this carrot just to get the team to move a little. You know what I mean? And you already see Indiana kind of galvanizing around this idea that they could be gone. They played really well last night. So no, I think they're all staying, and I think Indiana is shooting for the play-in game.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited for that tournament. That's gonna be great for us here at the tune-up. All right, let's head on down south to we talked about the Toronto Raptors before. Another team that's been equally just as bad of late, the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets are progressing on several fronts in talks to trade newcomer Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
So a bunch of different scenarios there. But Benny, what do you think? Oladipo staying or going?
This is a tough one because to me, it's all about what Houston considers Victor Oladipo. He turned down the extensions already. He's obviously not super enthused to stay with Houston, but is there a market for Victor Oladipo right now large enough to get a return that they need for a guy like that? And I don't know. He's a couple years away from, a couple years removed from being that really functional two-way player you can count on, especially going into a series. And I think Houston knows they still have value, would want a first-round pick for him. And I don't know if they'll get it. So right now, I don't think it's a matter of whether the Rockets want Victor Oladipo or whether he wants to stay. I don't think the market is strong enough for them to move him at the current moment.
Woj reporting that the Rockets are looking for a package that includes young players and first-round pick combination.
No chance.
Yeah, right. I mean, if anything, it's a late first-round pick. But I mean, I think at this point, given how awful they've been, like the value's way down, and these GMs are smart business people. Like they're not going to do something that's bad for business just of a name. Though some may. Shout out.
Just let me see a little more Jashawn Tate for the rest of the year. That's what I want to see. Give me 40 minutes of that guy a night.
All right. One more trade, and then we'll get into a couple buyout candidates. Harrison Barnes will be a top of wish list for some contenders. Boston previously considered a suitor for Barnes as well. Denver reportedly now in the mix, according to the Denver Post. Harrison Barnes staying or going in Sacramento?
Again, I think he's staying, and I think it's because of the Kings' unwillingness to just break this team apart. And they just showed it in another trade. They gave up some value to try to get Darrell Wright, who's a useful player. And now they have a backcourt of Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton and Darrell Wright. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing over there, but all inclinations again lead to the fact that Sacramento is trying to make the playoffs. And I think they're one of those teams, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, I think they're committed to the idea that their fans need a playoff team and their fans need a playoff series. And I think they're going to do everything they can to get in this year. And Harrison Barnes is a big part of that because he's a very useful piece. But unlike the guys we just talked about, like your Oladipos and stuff, I do think there's a healthy market for Harrison Barnes. Like there's a couple teams, particularly a Boston, where it's like a perfect fit, who has the assets. So if someone's really trying to make a run and take a swing, there's a better chance for Harrison Barnes getting a big return than some of these other guys. So I'll give this one like a 50-50.
By the way, you know what's ridiculous about this year? And it feels like it's been the past 3 years. What a bunch of, I know simps isn't the word, but the Boston Celtics just out here. Everybody, the Boston Celtics have had more on-court success, yet are acting like the New York Knicks. I don't know what Danny Ainge is up to. He's dealing with the fact that Twitter wants Brad Stevens to go back to Indiana halfway through a season where they're in playoff contention. He's in the market for every name that comes available. Man, it's head scratching. Can't believe it. But honestly, that's the kind of franchise they are, though, because nobody wants to go there because they're a racist ass town.
I mean, it's getting worse and worse. It's like, obviously they let Kyrie walk for free, let Gordon Hayward walk for free, even though the development of some of these players, like, I love Jason Tatum, but am I the only person who sees him and you just don't know what you're going to get from night to night?
And you're
like for someone who is considered, a potential top 10, top 20 player in the league, guy gets lost on the court way too much, where I'm watching a Boston game and I'm like, is Jason Tatum out there?
Yeah.
And it's because he can't stop runs against them. And I think he really needs to put his foot on the neck of the other team a little more. And the Kemba Walker thing is getting strange. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, you know what? This team operates better with Jeff Teague right now when he's out there playing defense and then working the ball around instead of trying to score. So I think that team is it's a very disappointing season and it's very strange. And because of that, and the idea that it's sort of widely recognized that they couldn't compete in the East this year because they probably can't, maybe it's the highest potential for Ainge to maybe finally get off his butt and make a real move over there,
Yeah, he can't go golfing with Michael Jordan to try to pull off these deals anymore. Right. That window is closed.
That's right.
But Benny, let's head to the buyout market, shall we? And a couple decent names may potentially be free agents by this afternoon. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond. With apparently the Knicks want to pursue Andre Drummond, which seems like a big mistake to me. But who do you think ends up where? Let's start with Aldridge here.
I mean, Aldridge is the perfect fit for a lot of teams. I think the big question now is, and you can answer this too, are either of those guys, Aldridge or Drummond, getting traded or accepting buyouts?
Oh, buyouts.
Got to be buyouts at this point because I don't see anybody giving up real assets for them. And Andre Drummond, in the prime of his career, coming in and saying, I'm going to help a team at the veterans minimum, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if he's that type of guy, and he's going to be looking for real money after this. So that's a tough call. But, one team that comes to mind, and I hate to say it, if he's coming on a veterans minimum, why don't the Nets get him?
I
mean, at first, if you told me we're giving up assets for Andre Drummond, we're committing to Andre Drummond, we're doing any of this stuff, you're telling me the Nets can get like a 4-month Andre Drummond rental at the minimum to make this run and put a big body up in there instead of DeAndre Jordan and Nick Claxton right now? Okay.
Yeah.
That works for me. And I think there's a couple other teams and again, Boston would be another one where they could really use the help there. That, it's sort of a perfect plug and play at the veterans minimum. And I think once he accepts this buyout, he becomes highly, highly sought after. What about the Lakers? Nice fit over there. What about the Clippers? Any of these big teams that are looking to contend could use another healthy 7-footer to stick in the middle for 20 minutes a game. And I think there's going to be a huge market for Andre Drummond.
And the thing that's super interesting is the fact that the two teams that we're probably going to see in the NBA Finals, the Lakers and the Nets, They both need help and have a ton of question marks right now with a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
The KD keeps progressing along. Kyrie Irving is back and forth. And then on the West Coast with the Lakers, you have both AD and LeBron out. So the market's there. I think he's going to get more than the minimum just because of that.
Yeah, what you said is important too. I think that oh wait, I just totally lost my point.
Okay.
Oh no. Okay, it's back. It's the idea that like we're in a funky season again.
Yeah.
It's not a COVID season, but it is a COVID season. People are still getting sick. Everyone's getting injured. Everybody's in and out, which does make me think your periphery teams that may have thought they never had a chance might be more active than they normally would. Like a Miami who did this last season and slipped right into an unsteady league. A team like Denver who's been really healthy and kind of has a lot of momentum going. These teams might envision themselves now seeing what's happening with the Nets, the Lakers, the Clippers, all the big dogs on each side, Philly. They're like, you know what? Why are we not one piece from getting through this whole thing?
Yeah.
So I think the unsteadiness of the teams at the top could actually create more movement for those teams towards the top.